Awesome. Welcome back to yet another session with us at Insurger 24. Folks, let me know if you can hear me okay. Just put a thumbs up on the reactions tab. Okay, I see all of that. Um, Very quickly, introducing our session before I get into the slide that we usually have and our pop quiz. Just wanted to set context for today's session. I know in the last few sessions, many of y'all requested us that hey, let's go deeper into the B2B side of things. So this weekend is all about B2B. We've covered a bunch of things on the B2C side in our first three sessions. We had Ravi, who's the ex CPU of Tinder, joining on the kickoff. Then we had Rishi, who walked us through our B2B experience. Then last session, we again came back with Anshumani, who shared some interesting case studies from his days at Practo and Hotstar. And today we have with us Nalin, who's the CPO of Moengage. He will also be covering some bits of intro, but post that he also has a very interesting case study for you all to go through, right? So I see that a bunch of watch parties are also going on today. So, hello to everyone who's at the watch party. Hope you all can discuss some of these while you're in person and let us know how the experience is as well. Right. So, kicking this right off, it is pop quiz time. Folks joining in virtually, get ready on your devices because we have some Swiggy treats for the winners. This time there are four questions. In fact, the last one's the easiest. So, the first ones are a warm up. I guess the first time we did this, everyone got almost all the answers, so it's really easy. Last time we did it was slightly harder. This time, like we promised, I think we're doing brands, right? So that's the hint. Get ready. Whoever is great at knowing global brands, this one's for you. Whoever answers it first, please do DM Mansukh or Tanmay, and they will process your reward for you, right? So let me know if everyone's ready. Awesome. I see some ready in the chat. Just give me a thumbs up if you're joining in from Airmeet or on YouTube. Just hit up the thumbs up button. Okay, perfect. Let's go. The first question on your screen in three, two, one. Here it comes. So you need to guess the company which developed as an internal tool for a game development company and later spun off due to its popularity. Okay, awesome. A lot of folks getting in the right answer, but who was the first one? They all want to help me understand. Okay, let's see. On my screen, the first answer was by Abhijit. Abhijit, you win. The right answer is in fact Slack. I guess this one's right in the middle. Some of y'all are getting the right answers. But Abhijit, congrats. Please do DM us. Let's move on to the next one. There are four questions, so we're one out of four. Some of y'all who are new to this would have got a hang of it. Awesome. Everyone ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready for the next one. If you're joining in on Airmeet, it is the reactions tab. Okay, I see a lot of them. If you're joining in from YouTube, just hit us the thumb button. Perfect. Okay. In three, two, one, on your screens comes up now. The first prototype of Instagram was a web app called Dash. What is Dash? And I need the right spelling. Rahul, I need the right spelling. You close. Okay, perfect. I see one right answer, and I will hold it on. Let me see who got the first one right. The chat section is going crazy. But on my screen, yes, indeed. I think the answer is bourbon. On my screen, Raj was the first one who answered this. So, congratulations, Raj. Please DM us and you will receive your word. Does everyone get a hang of it now? Garima says she had no idea. No worries, Garima. I think the next one's slightly easier. Yes, Raj, that was you. Congratulations to DM Mansukh or Tanmay. They're on the Meet chat. Everyone said we have two questions left. The next one is on your screen now. I'm not reading it out, so it's easier for everyone at the same time. Which company began as an SMS based platform but currently the world's largest social network? Yeah, this one's slightly easy. Right? We getting there. Now everyone's getting a hang of it. Who's the first one here? The answer is unfortunately not what we see on the screen. I think everyone's gone for either WhatsApp, but I do see one right answer. And on my screen, Rahul was the first one who got this right. It is indeed Twitter. I think a lot of y'all guessed WhatsApp. I would have guessed that too. But yes, the answer is indeed Twitter. Congratulations, Rahul. Dudiamash. That was a good one, right? The last one, the easiest. So let me know when you are ready. We will bring it up on your screens. Give me a thumbs up if you are joining in on AirMeet. Or okay, perfect. I do see a bunch of thumbs up on AirMeet. Folks on YouTube, give me the thumbs up when you're ready. Okay, perfect. Last question on your screen in three, two, one. Let's go. Oops. Yes, I know a lot of y'all were ready for this. Just a surprise. Yes, there were only three here. Yeah, no. Yeah, there were only three on this one, folks. I just wanted to see what the blooper would look like. And I had gone through the slides before. It was not me losing the plot on this one. But yeah, we will try to make the last one the hardest this time. I hope everyone got the Twitter one. Twitter one was new to me as well, right? Awesome. Yeah, well played there. Okay, awesome. Now I guess everyone's ready and kicked in. We will have some more interesting ones coming up on your next one. Give you a hint, the next one that we will do will be around founders, right? So just for you all to prepare and come. And we have a bunch of sessions lined up for you all, so not going to take too long. But now I think would love to give a huge shout out to all our partners without whom this wouldn't have been possible. WebEngage, Moengage, Dscope, Airmeet, and Stream, without whom this wouldn't have been possible. Thank you so much for partnering with us on this. And folks, do check out these products if any of y'all are interested. In fact, we also have Nalin joining us on this session. So, some of y'all are looking forward to using Moengage at your organizations and you have questions, feel free to put it on the chat section. We try to keep this largely related to product, but if you all have doubts, happy to pick that up towards the end of the session. Um, we also have, for those who are joining in new, this one has really awesome mentors. If you've missed out on the first few sessions, week one will be going off YouTube this week, so make sure you get through those. With that, I think I would love to invite Nalin on stage. Nalin, super excited to welcome you.
Thanks a lot, Suhas. Hi, everyone. A very good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are kind of joining this session. Thanks a lot for joining.
Thanks so much for joining us, Nalin. And like I was sharing with everyone, I think lots of folks on the chat have been joining in on our previous sessions. And B2B as a theme is something lots of them have been excited about. So I think many of them looking forward to this session. Folks, as an intro, I think Nalin and me have been, jamming on a bunch of things to do for B2B folks in the past as well. This is the first time we're getting to host him, and glad we could get him for Insurjo. So all of y'all get to engage with him. He's currently the CPO of Moengage. He's been in the B2B space for a long time. So especially folks who are already in the B2B product management space, feel free to drop your questions on the Q&A tab as well. I will go through the questions and curate them. As you know, the agenda, we'll hand over the stage to Nalin for the next 40-45 minutes. He has a very interesting deck for y'all as well as a case study. So keep that interactive on the chat. But if you all have any other questions to do with product management or in the B2B space, please drop that on the Q&A and we'll pick that up during the fireside, right? So if everyone said, give us the thumbs up and I will hand it over to Nalin. Nalin, the next 45 are yours.
Awesome. I'll share my screen. Give me a sec. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Awesome. So I think before starting, I would love to know what people think about what is product discovery. What exactly is product discovery? I think a lot of people would have joined with the interest to unpack how to scale the product discovery. But can you anyone help me understand what do you think? What is product discovery?
we've started getting in some answers on the chat. Some of them are spending their energy on deciding what to build, understanding what is the need of the product, finding underserved customers is one theme. To understand your user pain points and their opportunities and what you can build. I think
Yeah,
for
I
these kind
think
of questions, yeah.
most of you are right on Buck. I think product discovery essentially is building the right product and feature for your customers. And what do we mean by right? I think right is a very plain and simple word, but then probably might have different meanings in different contexts. And in terms of product, what right building right product means is that, is your product really valuable? Is it adding value to what the user's life is all about? Would they use it because it is adding value and solving some of the pain problem? Is it viable, whether they are ready to pay for it in some shape of a product or service or whatsoever you're building? Are they ready to kind of spend money to solve that problem? Because in the end, it should be viable for you to also go about and building it. The third part that comes largely is feasibility, which is it feasible? We can all think about building some rockets, but maybe we cannot build it at our home, or the cost of building it or the talent of building it probably might not exist in the surroundings that we are. And that's why feasibility also becomes a very big question in terms of that. Hey, is this problem worth solving, and can we actually solve it? Can we actually build it? And is it feasible to kind of deliver the solution for this problem? And the fourth and last is usable. Can users use the product without having any guidance? And that's probably the golden rule of it. But in the end, can users figure out how to use it? If with the help of documents, if with the help of any of the product tools and so many other things, can people figure out still how to use it? And when I'm using this language, I think my language is largely coming from the B2B context, because in B2B you see a lot of products which are having a lot of variety in terms of both breadth and depth. And in that case, you cannot depend on the user to actually know your product inside out and recall it every time that they're coming. They should always be able to kind of be able to find the help which is needed. And that's where my language probably would be centered around, hey, is it having the right tool, is it having the right documentation, or can they do it even without it? So I think the question comes is that, why have I chosen this topic? Why is product discovery important, and why it matters to product managers? Maybe if product discovery is happening is good. If it is not happening, sooner than later we will go about and do it, right? So why have I chosen this topic? I think for me, what is really important is a proactive product discovery. And why proactive product discovery matters is because of some of these reasons. Uh, I think you would have heard that, hey, we all should believe in, like, everyone should bring data, otherwise, it's just an opinion, right? So, and when it comes to opinions, it's whose opinions matter the most, probably somebody who is being paid the most, probably somebody who is probably having the loudest voice, probably somebody who is having higher gravitas. And that's what ends up happening, which is, if you don't have a product discovery, if you have not done the validation, you just go by the hippo's opinion. And how it pans out for product managers, a lot of organizations talk about product culture. They believe in, hey, we want to kind of drive outcomes and not outputs, and we want to give more and more autonomy to our product managers to be able to make those decisions on, based on what the OKRs or goals or the objectives that they have been given to be met, right? But then what ends up happening is a lot of micromanagement. And why it happens? Because in the end, nobody knows what to build. So the person who probably can act as a proxy by the virtue of influence or the authority or power, they take that role up and say, hey, given that I'm the one who is going to share the accountability of the success and failure of something that is being built, let me just put my opinion in front and ensure that it is being done. And these are two parts. Like, one is obviously the how it pans out in general, how it pans out for product managers. But then what happens to the underlying entity, which is your product? I'll probably give you 10 seconds to go through the script. But what largely is talking about is that, given that everyone is having an opinion and there are so many people who are having a heavy opinion, who ask you to kind of build something, I think most of us probably who would be working in B2B would have come across very enthusiastic sales and pre-sales people who would come to tell you that, hey, this is what you should build, and I'm guaranteeing you that it is going to get adoption. And since you, as a product manager, if you don't know whether that's a right idea or not, and you're also thinking, okay, since I don't know, let me just build this is what will happen. You will have probably a big hodgepodge of complexity. You will have a lot of feature fatigue, and probably also a product and tech debt, in terms of that you have built so many things, but then probably none of them have made the mark and not created the outcome. So that's why the product discovery comes into picture, which is it helps you understand the problems and define the product directions better. Unless you know what are the real customer problems, you don't even know what is the opportunity for you to solve it. And unless you know what are the real problems, you cannot even say, hey, this is where I need to focus to be able to say gain a market share, or to be able to increase my mouse DAOs for B2C, or to be able to increase my transactions and all those things, right? So once you know what are the problems, then only you can say, hey, is this problem worth solving? And the second part is it aligns better to your organization goals. It helps you align better because now you are filtering out most of the things which are not aligned to your org goals. You are actively participating in the process of discovery. You are actively looking at, hey, whether it's feasible, whether it's viable for my business, and what is my business looking forward to achieve in this year or 5 years down the line, and if it is aligned to my goals or not. It obviously answers that what we should build, and which follows into what we should prioritize. And what we should prioritize, I think, again, is very very subjective in different organizations. In terms of that, a lot of times we have been given a lot of frameworks, rice canos and all those things, but then I'm not sure how many times do product managers have the data to input into that, especially in B2B. What largely happens is somebody would come to you and say, hey, this is the $1 million deal that we are looking forward to sign. You need to build this. What will you do then? What is the reach? What is the impact? If you don't even know that, hey, this feature is going to cut across or is going to impact a larger group of customer, you cannot make that decision in a most objective manner. And that's why it is really important that once you have a continuous discovery, you would know what are the high leverage items, and then you will also know the opportunity cost of building something for $1 million heavyweight, right? In that case, you can put out your perspective and say, hey, I don't think this is the right thing to build, or if it is the right thing to build, yeah, I agree and I commit and I'll move on with this. I think one question that I've touched upon in the past is like, when should you do the product discovery? Should it be like, hey, this is the yearly planning that we're doing, so maybe a quarter prior we should do a discovery, where we are doing our goals and OKRs or product building plans on a quarter to quarter basis? So should we go do the product discovery probably just at the starting first second week, or maybe a week prior to that? I think for me, the answer might change for everyone, but for me, the answer lies that the product discovery should happen always, continuously, and non-stop. And why it should happen continuously is because, as I was mentioning, that you are put into different scenarios on a regular basis. We make many decisions on the product side, whether what to build, what to drop, in paucity of time, with our own bounded rationality. By bounded rationality, I mean that at any moment when you're making the decision, you can make the decision on the basis of the data that you have available. So your rationality is bounded by, in that point of time, by whatever you have at your hand. So what largely happens is that you end up making a decision which you probably do not completely believe in, which you are kind of unsure about, but then you don't also have any argument against it. So you just go with the flow, which is what I see a lot of product managers kind of doing, which is that, hey, let me just go with the flow. It has come from the boss, or it has come from, say, a CEO. Let me just go about and build this. While it might be right, but then you have the right to question, because that's the job that you have been assigned, which is, hey, you are the gatekeeper. I personally believe that product managers are not the people who generate the ideas. I believe that product manager is the one who filter out the ideas. That's their most important job. If on the way you are able to kind of even create new ideas, that's a brownie point for you. But then most of the times, the ideal product manager should be the gatekeeper of a good idea. And why that happens is because while working onto certain products, while doing our day-to-day job, we still might not be able to understand the customer as deeper as probably some other roles, like probably the frontline roles like a sales or a customer success in context of B2B. Second part on the product discovery should be continuous, is because reactive discovery many times is not possible, as I was mentioning that a lot of times to even know who you should reach out for discovery, to be able to reach out to the customers at the right time, they should have the time also available to be able to aid in the discovery process. You would want to reach out to different other roles inside the company, outside the company. That reactive discovery many times is not possible because of the goals or the timelines that you have to probably achieve. And hence proactive discovery largely ensures that you have a perspective on the domain, on the problem. In that case, you are saying that, hey, I know these are the five things that probably have a good potential, and these are the five ideas I validated and rejected. So you are a walking product roadmap yourself, in terms of what is the next thing to be built, unless the goal changes, unless any situation changes, or unless market sentiment or market and environment changes. Until those big changes happen in the outside world, your product roadmap is there in your head while you're walking. I think everyone would be probably using different framework, and this is a good framework that I found, which is a 4D or a double diamond framework, as most people call it, uh, to conduct the product discovery. What it largely does, it defines this process into four stages, and these four stages are highly interconnected. In real life, obviously, on any flow, you cannot show the infinite iterations, but that's what happens in a real life process, where you move from discovery to define, and then suddenly you have to come back and discover again, because you suddenly received a new question or a new concern from a customer, and then you go back to discover again, and then talk to customer again, and then define. A lot of times you come back during the development cycle to define, and so on and so forth. So I think to do a right discovery, what is really important is understanding what is the key challenge that you're looking forward to solve. It might be the business problem statement that you may have. It might be a custom problem statement that you may have. You start with that problem statement and say, hey, why, how can I solve this problem, and why this problem even exists, right? You go about and talk to customers. I think obviously the research methods will come in here. When you're in the discovery phase, what largely matters is how much insights you can gather, and these insights should not be obviously blocked by your own biases or your hypothesis. Even if you have the hypothesis, probably it is always good to start as a divergent approach with a open-ended qualitative analysis. And from there, once you have certain hypotheses which are kind of recurring, coming again and again, where you have validated that, hey, this is the most common problem, or where you have kind of synthesized, you can use quantitative analysis largely to kind of double down and build a case. But then I have personally felt that we try to bore the data to death. We try to be over reliant on data. We try to use data as a probably a handicap mechanism a lot of times. I think over time, product managers have to develop a lot of intuition in terms of understanding the customer problem, part one. And that intuition can be developed when you hear the customers as stories and not as data points, because then you get to know about their day-to-day situation. You are able to relate, empathize, and do a lot more. So discovery largely starts from that phase, where you go about and talk to your uh, customers, users, understand what is the pain point, why they are not using your platform, or why they are using the platform in a certain way, why they are just probably consuming the free content while not ready to pay for it, and all those kind of things. The problem can be very, very different to different industries. And once you have enough conversations with a lot of people, you go about and synthesize your findings and reframe the problem if needed. A lot of times, the problem that you would have hypothesized, or the statement that you had, probably would completely change. And that is super important also, because a job of product manager is to go about and articulate the problem in the most, I would say, succinct as well as crisp manner. A lot of times, the problem statement that comes from, say, different parts of the company, would be very, very broad, very wide. I think it's our job to go about and say, hey, this is too broad. Let me understand exact problem, and then try to define that problem statement in a much more crisp manner. For an example, a lot of companies go about and say, hey, I'm Uber for this, I'm Uber for that. What they're trying to do is just using the existing mental model or the knowledge that people have about Uber, and then say, hey, apply that in the concept that I am operating in. So that's like saying articulating the problem in the right manner. It can also become your elevator pitch when you roll out that product. So reframe the problem, understand the problem, and once that is done, I think all of us are pretty good at defining the solutions. And I think that's where a lot of times we over index. As soon as we hear the problem, what largely happens is, again, that's a very instinctive piece that happens to us early in our careers, is we directly jump on the solution because we have seen something similar somewhere, and we know it is in the back of our head, in our consciousness, and we just spun up a solution very quickly and say, hey, yeah, I have a solution. I think we have a solution. Let me just kind of put down a PRD and a spec and kind of get going with it. I think uh, one thing which is really important in the whole discovery process is that we need to fall in love with the problem and not the solution. And the people who have the best grasp on the problem statement are the ones who are able to actually create the best solutions. Because unless you have a really good grasp on the problem statement itself, the real life challenges come into picture. Your developer will ask, hey, can I drop this story point, can I drop this user story? And then you say, hey, I'm not sure, I think this is also important, I think this is also important. So your ruthless prioritization needs you to kind of have a really, really great understanding of the customer problem. So I would always say that spend probably 60 to 70% time on just kind of churning the problem, synthesizing the problem, keep on understanding, going deeper, peeling the onion every time, and then jump to creative solutions once you know that, hey, there is nothing more to be explored, or I have already explored the things which were worth it. So once you define the creative solutions, what largely happens is defining the creative solution itself is a process. It's a huge collaborative process. You define the solution, and again you do iterate it with your internal teams. You iterate it and validate it with the customer, and you keep on going in the loop. You go about and present it to the stakeholders and kind of get their buy-in, and so many other things happen. And once you have the solution ready, you probably just go about and develop it. Again, the loop will always continue in the development also. As soon as you can get an early version, you can show it to your customer. As soon as you have an alpha launch, you can give it to some of your customers. What is also really important is that in the B2B setup specifically, that you need to have some sponsors in the form of customers. When you are building a new product which is, you feel is customers are ready to pay for it, ask them to commit a small token amount, even if it is a soft commit, and make them your customer partners who are building the solution with you, who are ready to use the product in, say, first 3 to 5 months, till the time you go about validate and get the product stable, solve the use cases and all those things. It is really, really important, I think, for a B2B company to have customer partners who are ready to kind of invest their time, co-create the product with you, and then from there on you can always go about and scale it up. I think some cautions which I was probably also talking about, that don't be over reliant on data. A lot of times qualitative is more effective to go deeper and find eureka moments. I think maybe you can reflect back on your experiences as a product manager or as a product leader. I personally have seen more eureka moments while having different conversations with different customers, instead of probably looking at the data. So we should diverge with the qualitative, create more and more options with the qualitative. You broaden your scope and your horizon by hearing to customers in the form of in-depth interview, in the form of focus group, in the form of surveys or whatsoever. But start with open-ended questions and use that divergence to kind of broaden your horizons. And then once you know that, hey, there are certain common problem statements, you converge to those problem statements and go about and kind of get their validations from a quantitative standpoint, because obviously we all have limited time, limited bandwidth, so we cannot work on all the problems which might have come because of the qualitative discovery that we did. The second caution is intent versus behavior caution, which is a lot of times what you say versus what you do is very different. All of us want to be really really healthy. All of us want to probably leave a lot of habits that we are not proud of, but then we cannot. So if you ask somebody, hey, do you want to say quit smoking, they will say yes, but can they? Are they doing it? Probably not, right? So intent and versus behavior is a very very important, I would say, paradigm in the consumer behavior, that a lot of times people say things to kind of project a projected self or a ideal self, while they actually behave as per their actual self. All these terms, ideal self, projected self, actual self, you can probably read more about it. These are terms from consumer behavior, and they give you a good grasp into why people do these things and how they behave is different to what they think they will do. And the third part is understand if there is a budget and not just interest. Are people actually ready to spend their energy or spend some cost, be it in terms of effort, money, or anything, to kind of solve this problem? Or is it a problem which is there, but I don't have a motivation to solve it because maybe it's not a problem big enough, or maybe it's not my problem, it's somebody else's problem inside the organization. So that, I think these are some cautions probably I would say to start on the product discovery. uh, the next part is, where do you get the inputs for product discovery? As a product manager, you would have, in a B2B company, you would have your customers who would want to share a lot of feedback, who would want to ask you that, hey, build this for me, build that for me. You'd also have new customers or prospects to whom your sales team or your pre-sales is reaching out to kind of make them the customer, and they would also have a lot of inputs which can actually help you improve the product. You would have your insights, internal teams like sales, support, customer success, sales engineering, pre-sales, whatever the name is in different organizations. They all will be the people who are pitching the products day in day out to these prospects. They are understanding what do they actually need versus where is the gap. So these are all the people or the pillars who are really really important for product discovery. An exhaustive list would probably not exhaustive, I would say a more elaborate list will look like this, which is from an external perspective. You have your customers and user, and I think just want to attract this attention on B2B side, that your customer and user are two very different persona. Your customers might be the one who are making the decision whether to kind of pay for a product or whether they should buy your product or not. And then once they have bought your product, then there would be the people in their teams who are going to use it. So these are two different personas, and that is something you need to take care when you are kind of going about and saying, hey, what is my right discovery? Am I doing the discovery with both users or customers, or just with one persona? Then the prospects is something I already talked about. One of the most important sources which I realized in B2B is industry analyst. A lot of industry analysts are continuously talking to a lot of customers. It will depend again on what kind of product you have, what segment it is targeting. But I've seen some really, really good industry analysts who are catering largely to the enterprise side of customers. They would have great inputs in terms of excuse me, what the customer problem really is, what is customer worried about, what the CMOs are thinking for like especially related to Moengage, and what probably the CDOs are coming in and interacting with CMOs to make influence the decision and all those things. So the change in dynamics in terms of how the roles are changing, how the decision making is changing, how the number of people who are influencing the deal is changing, how the product expectations are changing, what are the open problems which are changing. All those things are something which you can probably talk to these industry analysts about, or you can even read the reports that they keep on publishing over time. Then there would be great domain influencers in every industry. For an example, for Moengage, we talk to a lot of domain influencers in email or in CDP space to understand where do they see maturity coming in, how do they see these domains evolving, what are the key trends which are coming up, what are the customer behavior which is changing in terms of buying the product, what are they specifically looking for now versus probably 5 years 10 years later earlier, right? So those are the few things which you can talk to domain influencers about. And then review sites like G2, Peer Insights, Trust Radius, there are a lot of them. You can always go back and look the feedback for your own company, for your competitors, and there probably, if you have your pattern matching on, you'll be able to identify what the comments are alluding towards, what they are largely saying, and probably then uh, try to reach out to those people and get a conversation to understand deeper. From an internal perspective, I believe that sales, pre-sales have a really really good hang of what the customer needs are, what the customer demands are, and how they are asking for some things which probably earlier they were not. What are the new capabilities that they need? Where are they blocked to kind of unlock the ROI or to even realize the ROI that they want from a B2B software that they're buying? So sales, pre-sales are the ones which are really, really important. And then you might be having different teams like implementation or professional services to onboard the customers or to kind of solution the problems for the existing customers. You might be also having customer success who work day in day out with the customer and probably might already be bringing you a lot of customer requests. And then there is a customer support, which uh, this team helps you kind of look at the larger patterns and say, hey, even though we created this product, we probably did not take this mental model of the user in consideration, and say, and that's why probably these are the kind of queries which are coming. They can also help you improve the reliability of your product by saying that, hey, these are the key areas where the bugs most commonly occur, and probably we need to probably look into this part. Or they can also go about and ask your help for saying that, hey, I need support here because I would want to increase my efficiency and do better, and probably your product debugging and all these things need to improve, or your documentation need to be a little bit more elaborate. So I think we'll come to scaling part. I think when we talk about scaling product discovery, so we talked about all the sources which are there for product discovery. A lot of these sources, when we talk about them, how do we ensure as a product manager that like we are able to talk to so many people and at the time when we want to do the discovery, and if we do that, like a lot of times it's more like, hey, I being able to reach out to those specific people in terms of having the right time, they having the time for me to be able to do a discovery, and so many other challenges. So what I really believe is that at the starting, we should go about and talk to everyone relevant and look at which of these sources are actually reliable for inputs. Hey, I can trust this person. Hey, I can trust that person. And by trust, I don't mean an intrinsic trust. By trust, I mean that truth. A lot of times in the organizations, when the organizations have multiple humans, I personally believe that the biggest challenge is discovery of truth. And then there is no truth known. Everyone has their own version of truth. So simple example might be customer might have said something, the customer success manager probably would have understood something different, because maybe of the lack of knowledge or the again the bound rationality that they have. Then they communicated to you, and you understood probably a little bit different, because you also know that, hey, where the customer success manager is coming from. So I think really what really important is that you should be able to identify those sources where you can kind of go about and trust. And it's always better to talk directly to the customer. For me, what has really worked is that at most of the places we try to kind of remove uh, the layer between product and customer, and that has worked really well for us. In the starting, every time we had to get to the customer feedback will be shared via customer success team to us, or probably the prospect feedback would come later on via a sales enablement team or a sales ops team to us. But then over time, what we have done is we have set up those channels to be able to kind of get this feedback on a continuous basis to us. And we believe we are in that process of uh, being able to run now, and maybe we can run faster in future if we solve some more problems. So in the crawl stage, you go about, you talk to people, you understand what are the reliable sources that you can trust. In the walk stage, you double down on this feedback. You start setting regular cadences to get this feedback. So instead of doing the product discovery, what you're largely doing is you are getting new areas where you should do the discovery, or you're just getting the inputs which might aid the ongoing discovery that you're doing, irrespective of individually focusing on it. And the third part is where you kind of start running, where you say, hey, a lot of this feedback I probably should not seek, because I might not be having so much time to go and cover all these sources. I want to be in a place where all this feedback comes to me, right? And I think that's the stage where we call it run. Simple example on how we did it is like, a lot of times we go about and ask our customers, maybe we will, as a product manager, we'll do 2 or 3 calls with some 2 or 3 top customers every quarter and say, hey, what do you need? Or probably maybe some of best one of us might be doing say 1 call a week. That still limits you to say 12 calls and all those things, right? So what we did was we exposed a platform to our customers, directly asking them what they want us to build. So this is more like a place where they can kind of seed their ideas, that hey, this is a idea that I have, and this is my underlying problem, and this is the current workaround I'm using. So we ask them largely two things. One is, hey, what are the use cases that you have, and do you actually have a workaround? Because workaround also defines the urgency of it. The use cases define the importance of it. And obviously, if it is really important and it's also urgent, that there is no workaround possible, maybe there is more value to solve that problem first and then go to the important one which is not urgent, right? So that's where we ask two questions to them, which is, hey, what is the use case that you have, and what is the workaround that you're using to execute this use case? And from there, they go about and submit their ideas. And if the ideas are already seeded, customers can come in and see the ideas seeded by other customers or prospects, and they can keep on going and upvoting it. That helps you kind of curate a voice. I think there are enough tools in the market for such kind of solutions, and you can pick your own tool. But this is something which has really helped us. It also removed the middle layer of a feature request coming via customer success and probably lost in translation, or a feature request coming via somebody else in lost in translation. And it also helps us know who is the exact user inside the customer company who has requested for this, so that when we need to kind of go and do the discovery about that problem statement and all those things, we can directly reach out to that user. So it's also a lot of nuances which probably are really really important from a perspective of operations, because unless you solve for the operations, you'll always be kind of limited for time, and you will not be able to do it in a scalable fashion. So that's something that we did at Moengage, and we believe it's really really important to kind of go about and have such setup to be able to scale your inputs from customers. Another piece that we did at Moengage is a customer advisory board. So since I was talking about that, there are two personas that you have. One is the customer, and the second is the user. So we created a customer advisory board. Customer advisory board is a collection of some of the handpicked customer executive decision makers. You kind of go about, invite them to a conversation, you brainstorm with them individually together, you treat them, you obviously give recognition to them. It's a two-way street, right? So the customer advisory board largely are more about how you continuously keep on having a interaction with the customer executive decision makers, so that you can understand what are the problems that they are facing with your product or with the function in general that you can solve. So it helps you engage in, like, you can engage with them, you can listen to them, and they will tell you some really really great stories and even their strategic priorities, based on which you know what are the kind of emerging opportunities for you, what are the problems which probably have money chasing them. And then it also helps you to convert them to a champion of a product and brand, because now you are interacting them probably on a quarterly or a half yearly basis. You're asking them what you should build. You are acting on their feedback and telling them that, hey, we valued your opinion, and we validated it's a really really great point, and we saw the value and we are now building on it. So customer advisory board is something which a lot of large B2B companies have, and they use it largely for two purposes. One is for the creating champions or the customer executive decision makers, which is more like keeping a warm relationship with these executives. And the second is to kind of take their inputs and build the product, or take the opportunities from the product. What we also did was that when we were reaching our product managers, we initially used to get the feedback only when we reach out to customers and say, hey, I use the product and it's really good, but this is the place probably where I'm like not able to make sense. This is a place where I kind of go and it turns out as a dead end. Or maybe they will have that, hey, this button probably is not readable, or maybe this error message is not understandable. These are very very small things, but you cannot, like, if you are going on a call, the customers might not be able to share each and every concern, because that concern is not the top of the mind for them. So what we also did was we seeded a feedback widget into our documentation as well as product, where people can kind of go about and say, hey, this is a feedback I want to submit. This is maybe this, and they do it with the CSAT, which is like, hey, uh, this is a rating I currently want to give, and this is the reason I am giving this rating, right? So this is a snapshot, and then I have connected it to my Slack channel, so that each and every member of the CS organization as well as the product organization has view on it. And once they know that, hey, this is the issue, they can probably go and talk to that customer and dive deeper if it is not very clear. But if that's a small change, or if it is a small if it's a basically low effort piece, and it is very comprehensible at the onset itself, they can directly act on it. What we also did was, like, everyone inside the company in the starting had an opinion that, hey, this is how my documentation should be, this is how the documentation should be. And I think for product is similar to marketing, in terms of that everyone probably has an opinion. And those opinions, how do you I don't, as a product leader, I don't control those opinions. I would want to have valuable opinions being bubbled up more, while the less valuable opinions probably going to the probably fade away, right? And what largely happens is that when you don't have a customer validation, you let all these opinions turn into the narratives inside the company. And any prod leaders who would probably be in the call, or any senior prod managers who would be in the call, they would have seen that probably firsthand, that somebody will say, hey, this customer is saying this. And then unless you go about and kind of suppress this rumor, it goes about, and probably every CSM might be speaking the same language, that, hey, do we not do this? And sales will come and, do we not do this? And everyone will probably be somehow whispering the same thing. So I think that's where it's important to kind of have direct validation from the customer. So even for us, on the documentation, on the product, everywhere we have created these nudges where customers can come and directly share the feedback. We are dependent on the, obviously we are relying on the customers who are ready to share the feedback, users who are ready to share the feedback. But believe me, there are a lot of people who want to see your product improve, because that's going to improve your life. So a lot of them want to openly contribute and share and say that, hey, this is what you should improve. What we also did was that a lot of times when, as product leaders, we are making a decision on product strategy, right? The simple example I would say, and probably it's trying to think in my mind, the case where at the annual planning, what will largely happen is, during the annual planning, I would go about and say, hey, what are the OKRs that I have? And my CEO will tell me that, hey, for these geographies, this is the kind of revenue we want to go after. And I would go about and ask, how can I help, right? And in that case, I would probably be having two kind of goals. One is building the right products for that market, so that we can retain the existing customers, and also gain new customers. And in terms of acquisition, if you think about it, every time you're going out in the market, if it is not a blue ocean market, what will largely happen is you're going to compete with somebody. So in that case, what will happen? You need to know what that competitor is building. And in B2B, the sales cycles are so long. There are so many people involved. You don't even know why you won the deal or why you lost the deal. And that's where it's really important. So unless I know why I won the deal or why I lost the deal, I cannot answer the question that how can I make us win more. So in a B2B, if you think about it, uh, simple OKR might look like, hey, improve the win rate by X%. And that win rate is saying that, hey, if you are in 10 deals against across five competitors, probably if you're winning only 40% of them, your win rate is 40%. So that's how win rate is calculated. If somebody asks you that, hey, can you improve the win rate? Can you help us win more with respect to competitors? You won't even know. You might just be thinking about some moonshot ideas, thinking that they might work, but they might not. And that's where the whole connection comes into picture, that, hey, if you want to move that side of the matrix, you need to know what is your prospect or the new customers are largely looking for. So these are the few plugs that we have put in into our Salesforce, where our sales team kind of manage the opportunities and accounts. We simply ask them across three dimensions, which is, what is on we are having a great focus on our own partner integrations in app marketplace. So the initial two questions relate to that, and the third question relate to, hey, what are the specific product areas where customers are looking for, like where they see as gap, or which are hygiene for them, which we probably don't provide. So what happens is that every time this deal moves in or out of the funnel, you still have inputs. At the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, you can always collate this data, reflect back, and say, hey, now I know what are the levers I can move. Same as continuous feedback with sales. What we did was that every time a deal is being marked to a lost deal, we share a triggered email to everyone, as well as they have to, the AEs have to, or the SDRs, or the pre-sales, anyone has to kind of go about and fill these inputs saying that, hey, why did we lose the deal? So maybe it might be lost reason is lost to competitor because of product fit issues, and then product fit issues might be having that, hey, this feature gap was there, or this is the place where we could not create more confidence, or this is a place where customers felt that our capabilities are not as at par with some of the competitors. And they, then these are the inputs that serves the product managers who are planning to kind of build. Now they can look at and say, hey, what are the key reasons for because of which I'm losing the deals. We also have set up a great process to get the feedback from our customer support. What we largely do is we do bi-weekly cadences uh, with our support team. We call it a DRI model, where our support team is divided into a specific pod because of the as per the product area, and each of these product experts or SMEs on the support side, they set up cadences between the product manager, engineering manager, and themselves to be able to kind of shed some light in terms of that, hey, what are the recurring areas where there are continuous issues, so that the product can kind of bake it inside the roadmap based on the impact of it. Where is a place where they need help to deliver a better post sales experience or a support experience, because in the end support experience is always tied to a time. How can they debug faster? What are the details probably which has to be kind of added to the logs so that they can deliver faster? What are the probably automatic debuggers that we should kind of give them so that they can do it faster? So those are the key areas where we have kind of also invested on the support side to be able to scale up our discovery process. I want to share a small case with you in terms of that. How did we go about ours? So I talked about two parts. One is the product discovery, and then ways to kind of scale this product discovery inside a B2B organization. Obviously, there will be more ways, and I'm myself also learning as I'm going and talking to more and more people in terms of what has worked out for them. But I have a small example in terms of that, how we did the product discovery, and probably at a time where we were also not pretty sure how to run the whole process, and then how we ended up on the right side. So it is a story of, probably I would say, serendipity and the framework working together. So I think for us, while we were, just give me a sec, I'll come back to chat to check if people are still connected.
Very good, very good. Nalin, just one question before
Yeah.
you jump into the case. Maybe if you just want to share a little bit about, I was discussing with folks on the chat while you were sharing. I think what's also very interesting is your journey at Moengage, right? You started with them about 8 9 years ago when the product was still shaping up, and all the way through, from product manager all the way through CPO. Just
Yeah.
before you jump into this, if you could share how the product evolved, right? What does Moengage do today versus what it did then? I think that'll just give context to people both on your journey. That's definitely a lot. It's definitely
Sure.
inspirational. And second, also, it'll help folks understand what the product does for those who haven't used it as well. Then I think the case will be a lot
Definitely.
more.
Definitely. So probably just a quick introduction about myself. I'm Nalin. I lead product at Moengage. Moengage is a insight-led customer engagement platform, and what we mean by insight-led customer engagement platform is that we request our customers, our marketers, to lead with insights. We want them to understand the user behavior, user insights, and then feed that forward to create meaningful segments, and then target them after that. And what this largely leads to is, it leads to better outcomes in terms of maximizing your customer lifetime value, maximizing the engagements, maximizing the conversions, right? And there are so many nuances to that. uh, in for people who are probably not from this smart tech side of the world, probably it's as simple as probably a tool which helps you send the messages to your friends or to your users. As simple as that, I would say. And
Is that a explain like I'm five definition for
definitely,
people?
I keep on practicing for myself also, Suhas, because I have my nieces and nephew who ask me where do I work and what do I do, and then
Yeah,
I had to kind of, I arrived here probably after some 7 8 iterations. Yeah. So
nice.
yeah, so I think from Moengage perspective, Moengage has grown really really well. We started back in 2014. uh, when we started as a mobile marketing tool with the push notifications as first product that we rolled out, and post that we added a lot of capabilities based on how we saw market opportunities and all. We added in-app notifications, and post that we built email and became a completely cross-channel communication management for our customers. uh, at this point of time, Moengage has like if I want to visualize it, we have largely four products. One is Analyze, which allows our marketers to be able to analyze the user behavior. Then we have Engage, which allows our marketers to be able to go about and engage the customers across different channels. And when I'm saying marketers, I think this role itself is kind of evolved a lot across different geographies. Like half or 80% of users of my analytics product are product managers who are doing both marketing analytics and product analytics on that product. Similarly, so post Engage, we have Inform, which is a transactional messaging notification infrastructure. All of you probably, if you are working for a commerce company, you would be having a uh, order updates and all those things, which are generally baked on day one. Or if you're working for, say, a banking and all, you would be having OTPs and confirmations, transactional messages sent out on a regular basis. So we saw that problem and have built this product called Inform. And the fourth product that we have rolled out the last year starting is called Personalize. Personalize is allows our product managers and marketers to be able to go about and personalize the website experience or the app experience. Uh, and for us, the hypothesis largely was that if you're looking forward to provide a connected experience, you would want to provide the connected experience across all the touch points with which your customer is actually engaging with your brand or with your company. And that's where we rolled out Personalize, and we are seeing really really huge traction for both Inform and Personalize in the last 1.5 and 2 years. So that's about Moengage. I think about my journey. My journey is probably very, I would say, very low key.
Your journey
I
is actually very interesting. I know you're
Yeah,
playing it low, but I think
yeah,
I'll tell you 2 points which I think might be interesting for folks from what I know. One is Snapdeal consumer to building a decade in B2B. I'd love for you to share a little in that. And second, I think in an era where people look for the next best opportunity in 2 years, how did you really stick around for this long? I'm sure every startup has its ups and downs, right? So
yeah,
you would have also had phases, very
yeah,
candidly, where you would have felt okay, hey, and every talented person I know gets good inbound offers, especially in a country like ours, which is SaaS dominated, or we are
yeah.
we are becoming the SaaS capital of the world. So if you could share on these two
Yeah,
perspectives,
sure.
then
I think for me, my journey started back in. So, I graduated from an engineering college. Did my Started my first job. Post that, I was not finding much interest in that. Coming from a small middle class business family, I thought, okay, there's always some uncles who are probably really really rich, and you feel, hey, business probably might unlock that growth, because in the end, when you join the job, it's like probably paying some peanuts to you. So I started my own company, both for wealth creation, because I wanted to kind of create an enterprise which lasts long. That plan did not bode well for me. We ran this for around 18 months, uh, and post that I started my MBA. I went into product management completely by chance, because given that I was a entrepreneur, I was selling products in fashion and all. Uh, Amazon hired me for an internship for a category manager, and probably a week before my internship joining, my manager or to be manager in the internship called me up and said, "Hey, we are considering you for a product management opportunity. Are you okay with it, or do you still want to be in the category?" I was like, "Okay." why not? Isn't I've always, I think, taken the things with why not rather than the why of it, and maybe worked so far. Not sure whether it will be as probably good in future, but I asked why not, and probably I went about and tried product management in Amazon. Amazon was having a new business called Amazon Wholesale during that point of time that they were launching in India. So I got a chance to kind of work on that. I came out, sat in my college placements, uh, got into first laterals, good, bad, I don't know, but yeah, landed into Snapdeal. Snapdeal was a really, really great place in terms of the talent density was really, really high. I met Anuj also first time in Snapdeal, and then I had really, really great manager who was super talented, a lot of talented peers, really, really great talent that point of time in Snapdeal. And I was given a greenfield opportunity to kind of work on a product similar to Moengage. So I was working on that, and that's where I came across Moengage, and Moengage people came across me. I came down to Bangalore, had a very small chat with the founders, and they asked me that you're building for probably a single vertical. Uh, Come with us, build for more verticals, more much more diverse audience. And again, I think I approached it with why not, and I said, okay, sounds good to me. Let's do it. I've given that a little bit of entrepreneurial background myself. I think my appetite for risk was comparatively higher, and probably also coming from a little bit of confidence in capabilities that, hey, what will happen in the worst case? This might not fly, and I will have to switch the job and probably go somewhere else. In worst case, probably will get a job in 6 months. In best case, maybe next day job will be ready, and all those things. So I think those are scenarios that probably I weighed before even jumping to from a large company like Snapdeal to that point of time very small company like Moengage.
Yeah.
I joined as a product manager. What worked for me in my career is again why not, which is every time a problem was brought to me, I did not I ask why I should not solve this problem. I asked why not I. So probably got a great opportunity. Obviously, also got the trust from the uh, from Ravi. But for me, it's more like that. Hey, I'm always ready to take up more. I'm always ready to say, hey, yeah, this is something I can do. This is something I can solve. Obviously, there would with that there will be the moments of where you will be kind of double like doubting your own decisions. But I think overall worked out fine with me. I think take the opportunity always first, and then see if it is not working out, leave it. That's okay. But rejecting it without going through it, without peeping through it, without seeking through it, I think that's a lot of times I would say armchair elitism that a lot of us probably get comfortable after a lot of time into. So I think that's what has worked for me. I don't know. There is nothing big, I would say, that has kind of changed my career path largely.
Got it. No, no, thanks so much for sharing that. And I didn't want to hold up the case, but I thought that'll be very interesting for people to hear your journey.
Sure.
And also, I think that gives everyone a little bit flavor about what Moengage does. The case
Lovely.
will be a lot more
Thanks a lot for doing that, Suhas. That's why you are an expert and I'm not.
relevant. No, no,
Right.
no, not
Yeah.
at all.
So I think on the so I was talking about, I think this is circa probably 16 late. Uh, as product team, as I was just kind of brainstorming with CEO and with different team members that we want marketers to be able to deliver highly relevant and uh, in moment kind of personalized experiences to their end users instead of traditional batch and blast. Because for a long time we were building a lot of capabilities of really really extensive segmentation, really extensive triggered communications and all those things, but the adoption was probably not as high. Like for me, in my mind, it should be an organic adoption of probably 60 to 80% of people doing that, but it was probably around 30 to 40% in the early days. And we thought, okay, we should solve this problem. This was a problem statement for us. And why we were interested in that? Because that was a key differentiator for Moengage. And if the customers are actually using some of your differentiated capabilities and are also getting value out of it, they are going to retain better and more, right? So that's why this problem was an interesting problem for us that we were working towards. And our initial thoughts while discussing with each other is that why are they not personalizing enough? Do they not have time or do they not have the interest? or they don't know the importance of it or how to do it. And these were the initial thoughts that we had, and we thought, okay, if these are the probably the reasons, because we talked to customer success. They said, yeah, maybe they don't know about it. Let me present it in the QBR. Sales said, we pitched it to them, but maybe they did not understand it well. Maybe they will go. Maybe we need to educate them. So initial solution areas probably for us would have looked like educating marketer on the importance of personalized communication, maybe adding a little bit of more guided documentation on how to do the personalization, how to set up these kind of messaging interactions, and then probably also working with customer executives. uh, by customer executives I mean executives in the customer organization, to kind of ask them that, hey, maybe you should drive this inside your team because it is going to unlock value. So these are the few initial solutions that we thought about. uh, what do you think is wrong with this? Like, this looks like a day-to-day life for us as product managers, right? A lot of times we have a problem statement in front of us, and then we say, hey, these might be these hypotheses, and hey, let's kind of figure out and kind of deliver that, right? Would love to hear, I think, what do you think is wrong with this, or what could have happened? What is the mystery I'm going to unpack? You
Let's read
can
on the chat.
comment in
Some
chat.
answers coming
See.
through. Yeah, I think couple of
Get user response, jumping to solutions. Okay, more, not
not
customer
customer centric
segmentation,
solution.
assumption based on personal bias, no discovery. Very right. No discovery, I think, very much related to today's conversation. So yeah, easy peasy. But I think very much right on point, every one of you, that we did multiple issues here. Like, there were multiple issues here. First, we were kind of going by our own biases. We were trying to we were trying to act like customers, because we are saying, hey, we want to put ourselves in the customer's shoes. We say this statement so many times, but you cannot actually put yourself in the customer's shoes actually. So a lot of times when we say, hey, I know what customer wants, we are probably lying to others as well as to ourselves also. uh, Unless the customer is confirmed and you have done the discovery, right? So the key challenges here were that these were all of our biases. And honestly, a lot of times in the startup, people want to go for, they have a really high bias for action. They want to act first, fail fast, and all those themes go on. But all those themes should not become an alternative to the right inputs. Whether you are getting those inputs faster because you are doing that hustling, whether you have a high bias for action, you're doing that in a much more innovative manner, that's okay. But then even in the startups, and more so in the startups, you cannot go about and say, hey, we want to go fast, so I am basically acting as a proxy for the customer. Just build what I'm saying, and we should be good. So what happened largely, we started with the product discovery. We thought we should talk to the marketers. Probably some sense prevailed in us. We were also a startup back then, uh, still are. But some sense prevailed in terms of that. Okay, let's see. And it was more so of a curiosity rather than probably following some of these frameworks which I'm probably talking about today, right? So we thought, okay, let's go about and explore these solutions. We started with the simple standard five whys methodology, and this was more and more of qualitative conversations. Uh, so I asked them, why are they not creating more segmented or personalized experiences? And the first question I got is because they don't know what segments to create or what triggers to set. And I was like a little bit surprised, because I thought, okay, what does this mean? Like, do the people not know what kind of segments exist inside in their customer persona? They did not, because they did not don't have data or insights handy. They were doing probably the same job as product manager, which is like, they would probably be going about and reading some personas of some of the other B2C company, and then probably try to force fit their customers into that persona. Like, most common personas that keep on, like, go on internet about, say, e-commerce is, hey, there are casual browsers, there are people who are discount seekers, there are people who have an intent purchase and all those things. But how do we need to kind of contextualize it for our own product? I think that's really really important. So I think they were kind of also having that kind of a persona in their head, but they were not having enough knowledge about the user behavior. So because did not have the data and insights handy. Why they did not have the data and insights handy? Because it takes a lot of time to get the data. They were getting the data from the product organization or or the analytics organization, and they used to take, probably they would, I think you would have all have seen what happens inside our own companies, right? Somebody would come for a cross functional request and say, yeah, we are kind of busy with our own things, maybe we will give you around this time, or something of that sort will happen. So the data, getting the hands on the data used to take a lot of time. And because they're not getting their hands on data, they don't have access to any user journey analytics tools. And because they don't have it, they don't know anything about those segments. And why they don't have the access to user journey analytics tools directly? Because maybe there is no right tool available in the market which is kind of helping them to understand the exact behavior, or maybe the org reasons to not buy the tool, or a leader POV on not buying the tool. So this is where we kind of go about and try to understand the problem. And if you see from the initial assumption, the goalpost of the problem statement has completely changed. The initial problem was a education problem. Now the current problem is about accessibility of data and insights problem, right? If you think about it, in the initial part you would say, hey, we will solve this problem by educating our users about how to do personalization. In the current problem statement, you'll say, hey, we will solve this problem by empowering our marketers or our customers with data and insights. And that's how that's what happens with the right discovery. Unless you go about and discover, you will never know what is actually helping the customers, or what is actually blocking them. So once we define the solution, we talk to a few customer executives to understand if they agree with the problem statement and think their solution would add value. This is more like, again, going about and double checking on the viability of it, which is, are people ready to pay something? Is this a problem worth paying some money for? And we did that after we defined the solution, as in being able to articulate the problem statement, being able to articulate the solution, maybe have some hi-fi, low-fi, mid-fi kind of wireframes or designs to show. So once we defined the solution, we went back and talked to those customer leaders, leaders inside these functions, right, and asked them whether they would agree with this problem statement. And yes, there was a resounding agreement from a lot of these people. uh, we also validated the solution with the both set of marketers who had access to insights and those who didn't. Why we did that? Again, to validate the intent versus behavior. So what we said was that the hypothesis, if we are building the solution, the hypothesis is that if people have access to data and insights, they will create much more segmentation, they will do more micro segmentation, they will create more relevant experiences. But that hypothesis may be right or may be wrong, right? How do you validate it? You validate it by saying that, hey, if I have to create it, it will take time, it will take effort. Let me just look at the customers who actually have some alternate data tool in their hands, right? And see whether their behavior is different to the marketers who are probably not having any access to the tool. Because in the end, you can just kind of do a comparison of these two groups, who are probably one of them who are probably having the treatment naturally versus not, right? And we validated solution with both set of them. And we found out that people who had more analytics tools with them, they were using it more frequently, and they use those inputs to kind of create better segmentation as well as better triggers to fun for the funnel drop offs. The third point which I was talking about earlier was uh, behavior versus intent, right? So we not only asked, we talked to some of our customers, we went to their offices, we sat with some of these people, and just observed that are they actually using, or is it more like a projected self, right? Are they actually using it, and are they actually finding some value? How is this input going? And that's what we did. We also ran the idea internally with some industry analysts who we had access to kind of get the validation. So I'm largely kind of connecting the story also for you in terms of how it came together for us, in terms of that how where all we got the external validation from, and where all we got the internal validation from. And for us, it was a really iterative process to improve problem definition and articulation, and with that solution also. So it took us a good amount of time. The next steps for us were to kind of, once we have identified the right solution and iterated enough on it, we said, okay, we don't want to jump into, like, we don't want to be a slave of the process as much. there should be a good amount of agility as well attached to it. So when we are convinced that we have not missed any key points, we started building it. We identified few top customer partners who were ready to work with us. And as I was saying earlier, this is highly important because there are a lot of things that you don't know. There are a lot of questions you will have while you're solutioning the deeper parts of that solution, like defining a high level solution versus going deeper into it, coming stumbling across too many folks, crossroads in your solution. You would need some kind of people who understand the industry, who are going to consume a similar product that you're working on, so that they can kind of show you a little bit of path. In the initial discovery, you cannot go about and kind of ask each and every question that, hey, do you think there should be a disclaimer here? Do you think I should not allow the editing capability here because it might open up the platform for something else, and all those things. So all those small micro decisions you take at the time when you're building, and that's where it's really important to have somebody who can be your sounding board. And these customer partners are really perfect for that because they have the industry knowledge. They are the ones, or they are the similar to the ones who are going to use the platform. So they are the in the best position to kind of give you all the inputs. Build, ship the MVP, and get validation. And once you have shipped the MVP and gotten the validation, you keep on looking at the data, understanding the success, talking to more and more customers for feedback, understanding whether it is solving the initial hypothesis. Again, you go back and say, hey, okay, now people who are using my product, are they actually creating better segments? Are they actually doing better campaigns? Because a lot of times we just get so much busy in just rolling out the product that we forget what was the initial problem that we started this with. So from the initial problem statement, it became like a launch of new analytics product, and from there, if it would have remained so, we would not have known that whether it fulfilled the goal that we set for ourselves earlier. So we went back and tried to connect back to this, that hey, for how many people this is happening. There was a lot of work that went here. Again, we are just talking about very high level, but a lot of work in terms of making customers aware that hey, this is going to solve this problem for them, how it is going to solve the problem, and how it is going to help them evolve their current engagement practices. So that was largely the story. Did work for us. It worked for us really really well. We ended up so I'm talking about like late 16, we were uh, identifying these challenges and working towards these. We ended up rolling out the first version in 2017. We saw massive adoption organically when we send it to customers, like, yeah, this is something I want to try and this is really really good. I can kind of, it's intuitive to use. I can go about and understand what I wanted to do. Obviously over time we added a lot of capabilities and probably uh, from the initial versions. uh, but people were like, but I think Pareto always stands, which is like 80% of your customers are going to use 20% of your features, right? So we saw massive adoption there, and it went on to become a huge success for us with 90% attach rates in SaaS or B2B is largely about that, how many of the customers who are buying your core product also are buying your, say, a secondary or a tertiary product. And in the long term, actually, it led to for our change positioning, which is, initially we were like a customer engagement platform. When we realized that hey, the customer engagement is not possible without insights, and why this basic piece is still missing from a lot of customer engagement tools, we realized that it's we need to tell the story more and more and better. And that's why it led to even the change positioning for us in around 18ish, around insights at engagement, where every insight we build can directly be acted upon with a single click. There's a tenet that we have set for ourselves. This is the last part of my slide. I have taken already too much time of you all, but this is a some advice for PMs. I think this is unsolicited, so please feel free to kind of reject it, because it might have worked for me, might not work for you. It might have worked in my context, might not work in your context. So feel free to just kind of reject it completely. But I think what I really feel is important for us as PMs is we need to be really, really great storytellers. Stories complement the data really well. And the great part about stories is that they address the deep rooted concerns. Like in the end, you have to convince a human on the other side to allow you, like, to build a certain product, or you have to convince the customer on the other side that hey, it is a value for them, or you have to convince your manager or product leader inside your organization, and all those things, right? So I have seen that stories complement the data really well and also address these deep rooted concerns like lack of trust, skepticism, because stories give us a resounding victory in our own heads. When you have a story, when you have a great insight, when you have a climax planned in your story, in the end you are making a full blown, a well rounded story, and that serves a lot more for the psychological satisfaction to the one who you are kind of pitching this idea to. The second suggestion is find your wedge or differentiation or edge, you can call it anything, but it's more like a strategy to win in your career. Again, you need to have the strategy. We are talking about broad strategy all the time as product managers, but I think in our careers we miss on that. And the strategy can also be like, it need not to be kind of a planned strategy. It can emerge by itself as you kind of go forward. With me, like why nots, but it needs to, you need to have a strategy that, hey, if this is not working, I'll probably go in this direction and all those things. And the third part I've seen is that agency is important in every role. If you want fast track growth, agency is really really important. You should be there, a reliable person to be able to say, hey, I can do the job in the reliable fashion. You define the things really well as product manager. You define the problem statement. You define the taxonomy around it. A lot of times people don't even know the terms which suddenly start using because you are now thinking about a new product or a new domain, right? So that's product manager is that somebody who ensures that there is a common dictionary, common language is being used around such conversations. They are the ones who keep on clarifying, communicating. Communication again is really really important from a, like, and there are multiple ways to do it. You, there are some people who prefer a back channel conversation. There are certain personas in my organization where probably if I talk to them on the meeting, they will never agree to me, but I'll probably drop them a 5 minute phone call, and without me even convincing them, they will say yes, ye to ho jayega, koi load nahi hai. So I think understand the people who are you communicating to, understand their persona, whether a back channel is going to work, whether a front channel is going to work, whether confrontation is going to work for them, whether a public escalation is going to work for them. Do it, and this is important for your agency because unless you communicate, unless you highlight, unless you move forward, the things won't move. And last is iterate, I think. So yeah, I would say these are the final set of advices from my side.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nalin. I think lots of questions on the chat and on the Q&A tab. So I know we are slightly over time, so Nalin, maybe I'll pick up a couple of questions. Do you have a hard stop by any chance?
No, I can stretch by 10-15 minutes
10
easily,
minutes.
so it's
Okay.
not an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. We'll get started. Let's try covering as much as possible. Folks, on the Q&A tab, please can you help us upvote some of the questions that you relate with as well? And yes, meanwhile, Nalin, thank you so much for this session. I think on the B2B side, definitely an eye opener for a lot of folks. Um, Lots of questions that I'm already seeing, Nalin. I'll get started with a couple. I think the first one's pretty candid, especially in a B2B scenario, like you mentioned, if it's an early stage product, sometimes it gets too driven by, some of the larger accounts, right? In case, like you
Yeah.
rightly said, sometimes you might get a buy-in from
Yeah.
wherever the money flows in from, right?
Yeah.
Then all the frameworks, all, the models that we think go out of
Go down
the
the drain. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you balance the two? Like, I'm sure you would have gone through similar journeys, and
Yeah.
today
I
when
think,
it's a more evolved one, then how do you manage the two?
I think there are two parts to this. One I would say is that it again also depends on the leap of faith that each one of the in the leadership team wants to make. A lot of times, the culture of the company is defined at the top and acted at the bottom, right? So what largely means is that do we have enough uh, leaders inside different companies who are ready to kind of take a contrarian action, and contrarian as in a contrarian to that specific moment. A lot of times what happens is you have a new deal coming in, it's a 300k 500k deal, you are probably at a 500k revenue itself, ARR in the early stages, right? You have a 300k deal, you cannot say no. You cannot say no. Why? Also because you are in your early PMF.
Correct.
And as a PM, even I used to think that, hey, like like we all read a lot of gyan which is available on the internet and all those things, but then uh, we we kind of close ourselves to a lot of ideas, I would say. What I mean by that is that, do we necessarily know that building that is not going to work out for others, right? A lot of times you need to understand the complete dynamic and not just the product dynamic. For an example, that if you are having a $1 million heavyweight, there would also be a marquee customer or a light flag bearer customer in certain geography, right? So once you get that kind of a customer, you would be able to get more customers in the similar domain with that name itself. If, say, as a SaaS you work with McDonald's, maybe you can easily go and say, hey, Domino's, I work with McDonald's. You can go to Pizza Hut, you can say the same. You can go to Popeye, you can get to 100 QSRs and say the same thing, right? And everyone will trust because you're working with Domino's or McDonald's, right? So I think that's really important. I think we need to have either a complete view or no view. In terms of that, hey, I don't know, okay, make the decision for me as a leader. You take the accountability. I don't want to take the accountability, probably because I don't have enough knowledge. I am just disagreeing and committing to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But this challenge always comes up. The ways to handle it is simply that, try to see how relevant it is, try to understand the intent, try to push back as much as you can, and if it is not possible, look at the complete picture and take the decision. Very subjective. There is no objectivity to this. So I don't want to just paint a wrong picture that, hey, there is a framework that you can use and do it.
Yeah, yeah. Given that reality, what is a tool stack that helps you on a day to day? Like when you were a PM, that tool stack might have been different. Today, you're a
Yeah.
CPO, that might be different. So, what does
I
that look
think
like?
honestly, the tools have definitely changed. As a PM, I used to probably, like, when I started Moengage, we were really, really small,
Yeah,
very small team. So probably the days I saw Trello, my PRDs probably also would not be probably what can come in a single scroll of the Trello, right? The high
yeah,
level, the wireframes, I used to use Balsamic. That point of time, there were not enough tools like Figma. Maybe Sketch and Marvel were there, but yeah, I used to prefer wireframing only on Balsamic. So those are the tools that I used to use. I got project management tools like Jira inside my organization, because it was getting a little bit more complicated with more teams and more complexities coming in. And post that, I would say for me, the go-to tools now are more like my Tableau dashboards around different product KPIs. I look at them religiously. Uh, my Salesforce, where I go and keep on looking at the customer voice and all these things. My Zendesk, which I use for currently customer support tickets to kind of get more and more insights. I'm honestly, maybe it's my insecurity or it's my passion, I don't know. But I'm more like a hands-on kind of a person. So I still go and reply to some of the support tickets. I still go and reply to CSM questions, which are just out in the blue on some of the Slack channels. So I think, yeah.
nice. Nice. Yeah, no, makes sense. I think some of these change over time, like you shared. Nalin, another common theme I'm seeing in the questions, and I'll probably bring up one of them, is just a second, I'll bring it on stage. So this one's by Gautam, and then there are two, three on similar lines. What happens is in a B2B context, sometimes you end up selling to someone who isn't the actual user of the product, right? Maybe the buyer persona and the user persona is different. So what are some effective ways to actually hear what the real users have to say about the product? Have you had this challenge or have you been able to figure that out
No, I
earlier?
think honestly, as a product manager, you are more closer to users.
Right.
As a product leader, mid-level manager and all, you start interacting with more the executives who probably would have been the I would say the customers or the buyers, right? So in general, product managers who spend day in day out with users, they are like their partners in crime, just like your engineering manager is on the internal side. And once you have validated a need and all, then probably you should go to the customers to understand the strategic fit of that bet or that need that probably the user is highlighting continuously, right? So I would say that obviously both the personas are different. You would have had, like, you would have access to more in one kind of thing, in one kind of setup, while others not. But what we do is, as I was mentioning in the earlier part of my presentation, that for users you should again not be dependent on your interaction with them. I should not be dependent on Sohas like when we meet Suhad in person, then only I should get his life updates. There is a LinkedIn where I get to know about his life updates. So this is a incoming, continuously incoming updates which are coming my way. So there should be continuous feedback that should be coming from the users without me reaching out for it, right? So I think that is really really important, because that gives you a little more knowledge without you even asking for it, right?
Yeah.
So we all end up becoming a lot more wiser with a lesser investment of time. And from
Yeah.
the customer side of things, we interact with the customers. There are in B2B SaaS, there are a lot of times the companies create events with the customers, and then they also have customers visiting the office to meet your team, you visiting customers office to meet them. Like in the early days, I used to we had India and Southeast Asia as two biggest markets for us, and I used to go to Southeast Asia. I will sit on a uh, Gojek and Gojek bike as a pillion rider, and probably go to different customer meetings with my laptop and all those things. So I think those are really really good ways you go and meet the customers and the users both when you are kind of visiting their offices and all. And that is a very common thing. It's not like something I did out of blue. It's a very common piece in B2B that people do that. They have
Got it.
more dinners, they have more workshops to invite these people at one place and can interact with them.
Got it. Got it. Nalan, another interesting theme that I'm seeing in the questions coming up is around AI, right? And from both perspectives, one, from a personal perspective, how are you keeping up as a product guy? Where does this really fit into your tool stack? What do you think AI for a product manager will look like over the next 2 3 years? And the second part of this is on the company side. How did this affect the roadmap of what Moengage had, say, a
Yeah.
year ago to what it is today? So on both sides, if you could help us
Yeah.
understand.
So I think for Moengage side, AI is not a recent phenomena. I think even the more conversation that we are seeing in the market or say outside is more around Gen AI, which is like
Right.
with the advent of Open AI, Gen AI, all this language conversational interfaces become easier. But we were already working on AI products probably since 2018, 19ish.
Got it.
That's where we rolled out first product called Sherpa, uh, and we kept on rolling out more and more capabilities under that umbrella in the last, I would say, 3 4 years. And from a perspective of technology, I think there are 2 points here. One is obviously it's going to do a lot more than what is humanly possible. So it's definitely going to improve the efficiency in terms of unlocking the insights from data, in terms of modeling the data in such a way to kind of get more outcome out of it. Like a lot of times we say maximizing the ROI, right?
Yeah.
uh, Maximizing the ROI, when we as humans we are maximizing the ROI, we probably are able to explore only 4 5 options and capture the local maxima. While when AI is doing it, they can explore more option and can actually inch you closer to the global maxima. They will might still not be able to hit the global maxima, but in the end, there is more delta for the businesses coming out of there. So I personally believe that AI is really, really a great use utility at the places there is a lot of data to be churned, there is a lot of behavior to be understood, and a lot of actions to be done. So that's where for us at Moengage, I think there are a variety of use cases from a marketing perspective to be able to do the right segmentation, to be able to do predictive segmentation, to be able to do prescriptive segmentation for that matter. And same way, how do we build a business logic engine which can actually optimizes across all the campaigns that you have created and go about and say, hey, this is something we should run over 10 other things that you're having in that moment. It's a if you think about it, it's a linear programming problem of maximizing objective function, right? So
Sure.
that's part one on the AI. I think Gen AI is a little bit different in terms of that Gen AI capabilities are still unlocking the new use cases. I would not say that we know all about it at this point of time. I think there are some really really cool use cases around being able to kind of do on the creative side of things. And for marketing is really really important in terms of, hey, how do you remove the work of copywriting. Like my wife works in a company, and that company might also be having a copywriting team, and then a lot of times the copywriting takes a lot of time. And if there are multiple, like if you are like a mammoth, like say a Flipkart, right? You
Yeah.
probably at the big billion day you are having like thousands of offers running, right? If you're going to copy team, you are just getting it prioritized and all, it's like crazy, right? So now I think those
True.
are the places where probably Gen AI can kind of come and help. Obviously, with human supervision at this point of time, because it has not become so much accurate until now. So very clearly, there are a lot of marketing use case around copy, creative, and the other breed of use case which I see for all softwares is more like replacing the UX, which is the interfaces might change from point and click to conversational interfaces. Now, in that case, if people have had a clunky UI or probably a multi-layered workflow, right? That multi-layered workflow now can be converted to a single layered workflow with the conversational interface. So those are the key use cases that I see. As an individual product manager, I believe that AI again, AI, Gen AI, both are really, really powerful. It's more like how you use it. Uh, a lot of times, I think I try to outsource some of my very basic tasks to AI in terms of that. Hey, if I want to kind of put out a note to somebody, I would just ask Chat GPT to write a note. If I want to kind of visualize something, I would go about to say, hey, go to Mid Journey or something and say, hey, at least it's painting my idea. And obviously, picture speaks thousand words, thousand times more than our words, right? So those are the few places I use. I think obviously one can use it to kind of write. Like currently, I am not writing PRDs on a regular basis, but then. When probably around 6 months back, when I was working on a PRD, I went back and say and took the help of ChatGPT to kind of draft the initial set of structure for the PRD and all those things. So I would say it's a great game changer for individual productivity until now and ROI for the companies.
Got it. No, thanks for sharing, Nalin. I think running out of time, but a lot of common question. One other common question I'm seeing on the chat is people find you as a voracious reader, seeing your background, like lots of books there. So
I'll
first
be,
question there is, how do you get time to read in your busy schedule? And
yeah.
if you do, what are your top three picks from all your books behind you?
I think so. First disclaimer: all these books are not mine. My wife reads on a daily basis more books than I do, and my library probably like my contribution to this would be not more than 30%. And this is just one. There is another one also on the sides. So there are two bookshelves here. But yeah, 30% is my contribution. Now coming back to Suhas's question in terms of how do I get time? I think. Honestly, I'm like not very regular, and I'm trying to make it regular. That's like all our human follies. I know the value and all those things, but then I think for me what has worked well is that I try to kind of keep two books with me at one time. I really like fiction and the ranges of like the classics from Leo Tolstoy's to probably the Charles Bukowski's of the world, and then also the modern ones on the fiction side of it, like